just for painting. This is just for charcoal. If you don't have one for charcoal, you can just use paper towel. And you don't need that this much. We'll just grab the corner or even toilet paper, whatever works for you. So today we will be drawing a rose, a flower, and we'll see how long that takes us. I will be drawing 2 flowers, but you only draw 1. I'll be doing 2 because on one I will use pencil, the other one I will use charcoal. But I'm gonna write it here. You only draw 1. So let's start with our pencil. HB is the one you all have, so we'll use that one. So usually to start a drawing, like I said before in other classes, I like to draw very light with my pencil. I like to grab my pencil like this, and I move my shoulder. If I only move the wrist like this, then my lines will be less straight. So let's start with our rose. So the first thing I'm going to draw is a circle like this. More like an oval shape. Can you see that? Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a very light oval. After I have my oval here, I like to indicate where the center will be around here. So a small circle right there. Let me try to bring the camera a little bit closer. And now we're gonna draw. I'm gonna start drawing a little bit with more pressure so you can see it, but you continue to draw like very light pressure. So this is where my center will be. I wanna draw a few indications of where I want my petals here. So one over here, one over here. These are not my actual ones. These are just guidelines. And I'm gonna draw a line here because there's another one over there. So I have 1, 2, 3 so far. And now I'm going to draw another one over here, just a pointy one, like a triangle. I'm gonna be doing the same on this side, but you keep only doing the one. And now I'm gonna start from the middle of the rows. So I'm going to draw a small C. That's the center of our rose. After I have that small C, I'm gonna start drawing lines around that follow the curve. So I do one right here, but each line, try not to completely touch the previous line. So you see I drew like a C or an E, then a bigger C around, then a backward C. Every time they're bigger as I go out the center of my rose. And they don't always start with, so let's say this one, it starts here and it ends here. I'm gonna start another one over here in the middle of my previous one, and this will go all the way. So I, again, go back to my previous one, right in the middle. That's where I start my next one. Don't draw with too much pressure, just a little bit. I need to draw a little bit darker just so you can see it. So now after a few lines like this, they're gonna start to touch at the end. So I'm gonna start where this one is my previous level. And I think this one can go up all the way like this and down. just like a maze. And now at the bottom here, I'm gonna start on my left, right here. And I'm gonna bring it all the way out like this to my right. And then do a little loop. And this one goes down. So I'm gonna repeat that on this side. I start over here, go to my right, a little loop underneath where I was coming from, and then down a little bit. I'm gonna let you catch up. So if you see in the center, my lines are very small and C's. As I go out the center, they start to get bigger and wider, and the ends start to touch. I'm gonna draw another one over here. I stop and come back and touch the previous level. And this line at the bottom, I just wanna connect it. And we're just gonna keep going. So from this little space right here, I'm gonna add another one over here. We're going to create like moons. If you need to erase and fix stuff, that's okay. Now we're gonna start doing bigger ones, bigger petals or bigger circles. So from here, I'm gonna draw one that comes out and then comes close and goes all the way over here. So I'm gonna repeat that. I started here, come out, and then get close again to my drawing, my center. I touch this one over here. It's more like a straight line over here. And from this straight line over here, I draw another line going up. And this line goes almost to the top of my middle drawing here and comes back in. I'm gonna repeat that on this side. So I'm gonna repeat that. So I started over here, I come out and come in again, and this one goes straight down. And from this line over here, I come up almost to the top and bring it in. And from this little line that we just made, we're gonna create another triangle over here, just a line down. I'm gonna wait for a few of you to catch up. If your lines are too strong or too dark, you can grab your eraser and gently go over it like this. So think of it. Your drawing doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but think of like the movement of the petals. So they start small here and they get bigger and bigger around, And now they start getting out of the circle like that, pointing out. So from this little space between these two lines here, I'm gonna bring another one that starts over here, goes up all the way, and comes back down over here. This one will be like the curve is even more pronunciated. It's like an inversed U. But draw very soft because this one has a little bit of a like little mountains. So again, what I just did was from this little space in between these two lines, right here, I start a new line that goes up and comes back down. Not all the way, because I have two more over here. So I'm gonna repeat that. You had your line here and your big line here. In between these two lines, starting from this big line in the middle, I bring a new petal up. So up, 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 and down. That's like a U upside down. And this line is not perfect. It has little kind of mountains and dips over here. And when I finish in the air because right here, I want to make a new line, a new petal. And this one, I also finish it in the air because at the bottom, I want to make a new one. Now we're gonna draw another line that starts at the back here and very closely follows this one. So it starts at the back and very closely follows this one. And now I'm gonna draw another petal, but this one will be a big one. So probably over here, we can bring a line, straight line up. And this one will go around. Here it has a little V and it keeps going all the way down. And on this side, if you see, we had a little moon thing here. It's gonna start right underneath that and come down. So I'm gonna repeat that. We open it up right here, a pointy end, a curve, small V, and it keeps going under. And it starts over here. So if you have the lines that we drew in the beginning just to give a little bit of an outline, you can get your eraser and gently erase the lines you don't need anymore. In the center. I'm gonna do this petal and then I'll let you catch up. So basically right here, we have a line coming down here. And from this spot, so not right next to this one, but just a little bit to the right, we start another petal that comes up to the right, And it also comes from behind right here. So it was a line going up. Then from under this triangle right here, another line comes out. Comes down and joins our first line. I'm going to repeat that over here if you want to look again. So I have a line going down like this. I have my first line here. I move over to the right, and that's where I start going up and right. I go past this first line that I had from before, just a little bit. And if you want, we can start at the bottom over here, like a curved line, like this. And there is a little drop or like a tiny circle over here. And then the petal keeps going, goes to the back of this triangle here. So if we have too many lines going over each other, it gets confusing. So this petal is on top, so I'm gonna erase this line that I had before. I don't need this one either. I think this one, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. So here what I just did was create a triangle that comes from here, goes up, and comes back over here. I'm gonna erase my previous outline. And now I'm going to draw a big petal at the back. So it starts right here, comes down here, goes in right here, and then the peak over here starts going down this way, goes behind this one, and connects over here. I don't want to lose this line. I'm gonna do that on this side. I'm erasing my first outline that I don't need anymore. I have a straight line going down here. Here I'm gonna start a new petal. It's a little curved over here, goes up, and it's very pointy over here. And here it goes down again. I'll make this one a little bit bigger. And from this curved line that we have here, we're gonna keep going a little bit over here. Because that's going to be another one. It's pointy, and it goes back in. Here, there's a shadow here, goes down, and it's pointy over here. And it joins that straight line we had before. and erase the lines that you had inside that petal. So I'm gonna repeat what I just did here on this side. Let me just quickly erase this. So if you have lines inside your petals that do not belong there, erase them. So I had my straight line right here. Here it starts to become another petal that goes out here and comes back in. It's pointy and it goes back down. Pointy again. I'm gonna join these a little bit closer together. So I created another petal up here. I'm gonna do it right here. This one is at the very back, so it's very big. Little bit pointy, but it has little cut in the flower. Sometimes they break. Pointy, a pointy mountain, and a little cut, little V on the side. I think we're going to do 1 or 2 more petals and we'll start shading. We're going to do a big one over here at the bottom. It's very big. There's a shadow over here. So this was a different shape, more boxy shape. And I'm just putting these lines in the center just to remember that there are shadows, but you don't have to. And one over here. So what I did there was just a triangle that's a curved triangle, pointy end, and comes back in. If you want to add more around, you can. Usually when I add more, it's just, they just follow what's what's on the first layers. So if I want to do another triangle over here, pointy in and comes back down and in. And that's the outline of our flower. Once you're done, take your eraser, erase what's inside the petals, like lines that we don't need. Clean it up a little bit. Make sure your pointy ends are pointy. And after that, we'll start shadowing. Just gonna lightly go over my lines just to light them up a little bit. You don't have to, only if they're very strong. I'll let you catch up. I'm gonna get a cup of water and then we'll start shading with, if you have pencils, with pencils. If you have charcoal, we can use the charcoal. Charcoal first. If you're gonna be using pencil, you can keep working at it. So you can do two things with charcoal. If you have an extra piece of paper, you can use that to do this section. If you don't have, you can do it at the bottom, and once you're done, you can just cut that part. I'm gonna do it here so you can see. So with charcoal, I like to grab a section, I color it, and with all that dust, you can get your brush or your Q-tip or the paper towel. Grab the dust like this, and you use it to draw, to color. I like to do the darkest first. So what's darkest? Over here. So what is darkest is the lower section. So if this is and when you do pencil, you will do this too. This is my petal. What's darkest is what's at the bottom. As I go up, it's lighter. So we're just gonna do lines over here. It's easier once you see it done and you know what to color. And here is dark. Just a little bit like that. Let's do that with pencil. So right now I took a 4B, but if you only have the one pencil, you can use that one. Just go darker. So we're gonna start with the middle. So I don't know if you can see, but so I start in the line very dark, and as I go up, it gets lighter. And over here, this line is very dark. And as I go up, it's lighter. So I like to draw the darkest parts first. So usually the middle of the rose is very dark. So if you start at the bottom here, it's dark. As you go up, it gets lighter. And I stop. I leave a blank space. So I'm gonna repeat that. At the bottom is dark. As I go up, it's lighter. Less pressure on the pencil. And I stop. I leave a white space. On this one is dark. I'm gonna do the darkest shadows so you know what to draw. I like doing circles, but you can do lines. I'm gonna show you how sometimes we do the lines. So there's a shadow here, so you can do lines like this. Just follow along in the same direction, same pressure on all the lines. I know this sounds a bit complicated, but you just grab a petal of your choice. At the bottom, you create darker shadows. And as you go up, it's lighter. Here at the bottom, just a little bit darker. It's very simple process. I'm gonna go ahead to color everything so you can get an idea of what parts are dark. So this is very dark because there are shadows here. There's also a little bit of shadowing here. If I'm doing the charcoal one, it's the same idea. You just bring more and more layers on the darker part. There's a bit of a shadow here because the flower is folding over. And here is very dark because there's a negative space right there. This one. See how I'm leaving a white space between the middle to the corner to my line? Make sure you do that. And if your lines are getting blended together, just go over them to indicate petals. This goes to the back. There's a little triangle here. And after the triangle, it's very dark because it's shadows. So it's just trying to think what's dark, what areas are light. If you have this set of pencils, you can get higher numbers to the even darkest areas. To create more contrast. If they're very close together, the eye sometimes doesn't catch the light and the shadows. If you colored too much on one section, but it was actually light, get your eraser and do the highlights. Use it as a pen. So if you don't have this pointy one, you can use your regular one, just a corner. And you can also have a little bit of a paper towel, make it pointy, and use it to blend. It's gonna look a bit smoother. Make sure you don't go over the light areas. So the top of the petals, try to leave blank spaces. If you go over them by accident, get your eraser again and use it as a highlight, as a pencil, just to draw the highlights. So because I think, I'm guessing your paper is white, mine is gray. My highlights don't look as light as they should. I'm gonna use white charcoal, but if you don't have it, you don't need it. You can just use the eraser. So again, I'm using white charcoal just to point out where the highlights are. And if you don't have this, do this, but with your eraser. So the parts I'm coloring white, go with your eraser and make sure it's very white. There's no charcoal there or pencil. So that means the top of that, you remember we were leaving a little bit of space. Now I'm going to, oops, sorry. I'm going to finish the charcoal one. I think most of you are using pencil, but just in case you use charcoal in the future, that's how I like to do it. And I also like to, sorry, I'm just gonna get one last thing from here. So that's how I like to use the charcoal. So if you're confused on this side, I'll just repeat it. So I get my charcoal, do the darkest parts first. So yeah, I'll just color a little bit with the charcoal itself. So black and dark at the bottom of the petals, medium in the center, and white or eraser at the top of the petals. You just have to be very patient and add lots of layers. Sometimes once we add the middle part, the darks become very not as dark anymore. So we need to go back and redo the dark. So with charcoal, same as with pencil, I like to do darkest darks first. I get my pointy and smudge it out. Charcoal is a lot stronger, so be careful not to smudge too much. So it's also a lot faster because I can just bring the mid-tones just like that. Actually going to go past my line just to create a little bit of darkness around. I like to do this with charcoal because when you erase with your eraser, it really looks a lot lighter. Now I'm going to use my eraser as a pencil and draw where I want highlights, which is at the top. So you see, by coloring just past my line, once I use the eraser, I can really show my whites. My eraser looks nicer. I know I'm going fast, but it's easier if you're able to see the finished product and then go create it or try to copy it. When you're drawing, be careful because this part of your hand usually gets dirty, and as you're drawing other parts, the rest of the drawing gets smudged with your hand. If you don't get to finish this class, that's okay. You can always take a picture of the screen and finish later. It's about lot of patience and lot of layers. Just adding lines to add a little bit of texture. You can do that with pencil too. Just lines towards the same direction, usually where the petal is going to. Where the pointy end is. And that's our rose. You can always keep going as much as you like, adding more and more layers, more and more details, blend them together. If you want to practice drawing anything, I suggest you always, if you're drawing with pencil, use a black and white picture because colors sometimes it's confusing to use a colorful picture. So like always, we date and sign. Always sign your drawings, paintings. And that's it. These are our roses.